TIFU by saying yes when my coworker asked me if I would be his work wife. A couple months ago my coworker, M40, asked if I, F30, was his work wife. I thought work wife meant two people that were close at work. Non-sexual. I even looked up the definition on Google and Urban Dictionary. We talk about once a week on the phone for 1,520 minutes. We are based out of separate offices. Our phone calls are us complaining about new policies or our boss. He occasionally would message or Snapchat me late at night saying random stuff. I just figured he was drunk. Fast forward to this weekend. He messaged me telling me he was taking PTO this week. He said he would be in my area on Tuesday. I said we should grab lunch. This is where it got weird. He then told me he was getting a hotel room with a nice comfy bed. He said he didn't want to sleep on his friend's couch. I told him that sounded nice. I do the same thing when I visit friends. He then messaged me to bring my suit for the pool. This made me feel weird because I have a BF and he is married. I just didn't reply to him. He then messaged me the next day asking why I was ignoring his Snapchats. He was commenting on my story telling me I looked hot. He has never done this before. I just brushed it off. He then said, "Well, aren't you my work wife?" I replied saying I didn't understand what that implied when I said yes. He then apologized for his behavior and we haven't talked. I told my BF and my friends about it. I am definitely not having lunch with him lol. TL. Dear by saying yes when my coworker asked me to be his work wife. I feel like most people wouldn't take work wife, husband, so literally. The guy is a dirtbag for being married and commenting as he did and expecting you'd be down to share a hotel room. I worked with my fiancé for some time and had a work wife. My fiancé worked in the similar department as I did. But my work wife worked closer with me and helped me with my duties. She was the person I could count on to keep things going when I wasn't there, and we used each other as a shoulder to lean on if either of us needed to vent. She even introduced me to her BF as her work husband. But between a slight laugh I told her that's kinda rude, even though she was joking around. And I explained to him what she meant, what I stated above, and he laughed and said he had no worries because he knew we were just friends. They're married now, and are expecting a kid soon, but the whole term doesn't include the benefits of what would come with a marriage. And I think anyone with common sense would know that. We're just good friends. And that's all it should have been in your situation. It sucks you were put in an awkward and super uncomfortable situation. Just know you did nothing wrong. Now that you're work divorced, tell him he owes you work alimony. I feel like I've only heard of work wife being used in contexts of close friends in the workplace. As a joke. He doesn't seem to understand what it means and used it as an excuse to cross a boundary with you. As if you agreed to be intimate. You didn't F up. You dodged a bullet from a guy who pretended to be a work friend but actually wanted to cheat on his wife. Tell the wife. Seriously. I know that's a thing, but most of the time people don't actually take it as literally being in a relationship. It's usually just a friendly relationship with bickering and bantering and such. Similar to how siblings would act. Having a work wife or husband is where you take some of the professionalism out of the daily interaction for a more casual relationship. This dude took it way too seriously, and it was 0 to 100 with how he thought it was okay to basically ask if you want to hook up at a hotel. From what you've said, there didn't seem to be any reading the room or testing of boundaries to see if you were actually receptive romantically or had any interest like that. Dude just went straight from coworker to hookup. I thought work wife meant two people that were close at work. Non-sexual. That's exactly what it is. He was just a creep. Stay away. That not how that works. A few years ago had been working with this woman for a long time. We started saying we argued like a old married couple. And we did get close. But never crossed any lines. Anyway, my GF at the time didn't like how we were with each other. She confessed that she thought we were flirting with each other. Then one day we were all at a party and she, GF, realized that she was my work wife. But had nothing to worry about, as we just had a really good work relationship, friendship. The dude swung and missed. Best thing of this situation is that he is not in your office. I get the idea of a work spouse, but I feel like calling it that implies a level of intimacy that encourages people to cross boundaries. I hear this kinda stuff all the time. Luckily my work wife is my actual wife because we work in the same office together. Work wife, work husband have always creeped me out. I use a term from my army days that more accurately, and without misunderstanding, describes the relationship, battle buddy. He is a weirdo who was trying for something else. It odd to ask if someone would be your work wife. Typically it just happens naturally. In my experience, a work wife is just someone who does a little extra to help take care of and make your life easier. All work related. Example, entering project time if you're late on a deadline. Taking an extra minute to find nicer accommodations when booking hotel. Giving you a quiet heads up if the CEO coming through. Equally, you typically are going out of your way to make her life, positional, a little easier. I often shelter my work wife from blowback from other senior manager or clients solely because she makes my life easier. Therefore is important to me. It's a mutually beneficial relationship that's a little bit closer than your relationships with other administrators or managers depending on your role. It's not an emotional relationship. Cheers. I think work wife, husband are some weird blurring of lines terms and I don't understand why anyone would use them. Once a week for 15 minutes? Every job is different, but that sounds way too little to be close enough for that label. Nah, that guy was just trying to get it with you. Work wife is usually applied by someone else for two coworkers that end up having to work on everything together. Not this guy's limp attempt to test the waters for adultery. Yeah, he's the one that has put way more meaning into work wife than is appropriate. I used to have a male colleague who would joke that our other colleague, a Polish man in his 60s, was his work wife. I've always understood it as someone who you work with a lot, that you click with, and have usually bonded through stress of some kind. 100% platonic in nature. You've acted appropriately. Your colleague sounds like a bit of an asshole. Especially if he's married. Now would be a good time to set some very clear boundaries. Did you consider the possibility that the PTO was for this very reason? Seems like too much of a coincidence. You agree to be his work wife and he happens to go on PTO, is in your area and is inviting you to the pool at his hotel. You should have turned up with your BF. Would have been hilarious. Why am I just hearing that phrase for the first time? The dude was definitely in the wrong. But calling someone a work wife, husband, while in a relationship just sounds cringe-inducing. I think I'd rather have a straight-up open relationship than deal with a monogamous relationship, where my partner shows up with a work wife, husband, one day. Is this just me? My guy tried to play dumb his way into an affair. Damn, this post makes me miss my work mom. You know, the nice older coworker that you can always rely on and that had great life advice. And is actually a positive part of your life in contrast to your actual parent. I feel like work wife or work husband is not a title you should assign or accept yourself. particularly if you are in a romantic relationship with another person. I, 29M, had a woman team member, 28F, that worked directly under me for a period of about 3 years. Due to the nature of my work, the teams are pretty heavily segregated, so a lot of our time at work was spent working directly with each other. Because we also shared similar interests and lifestyles, this led to us being friends as well. My wife began calling my colleague my work wife because of the amount of time I spent with her at work and the fact that we were friends as well. This was not uncomfortable because the two of them actually became friends also. Out of respect for my wife, I would not have personally referred to my colleague as my work wife.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.